Excellent. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So my name's Andrew with Sayulita Wellness Retreat, and here we have Tara Lynn and Jeff, and they just completed a couples retreat together with us. And so I want them to share their story of the experience they had with Sayulita Wellness and share a really great experience that they had with us. And so let's get started. Do you guys want to really quickly kind of introduce yourself and share what your intention was coming to this retreat?
Ladies
You
first.
go first, Jeff.
So for me, we obviously there's a lot of media and podcasts and news and stuff coming out in feels like the last few years, especially over psychedelics and all the like therapeutic benefits of it. And so I would imagine a lot of people have experienced the same you start kind of hearing people talking about it. When we first looked into you guys' retreat, it was mainly over ayahuasca. There's a lot of like news and focus on ayahuasca. And we'd listen to some podcasts, we've read some stuff. And for me, going into the retreat, I had a really hard childhood trauma repressed memory come up about a year ago. And it kind of just like threw me for a loop. I'm 41 now. We've been married for 18 years. We have 4 kids. And it kind of like made me just like question everything, to be honest with you. Before that, when you were talking earlier, Andrew, about, dealing with anxiety and depression and things like that, like I've had that as part of my life for like a huge portion. And I've tried traditional, pharmaceutical route, which has not really, it makes you, it kind of just masks the feelings, right? It doesn't really necessarily solve anything. I've done therapy. And for the record, I want to make sure, I'm not saying that any of those are bad or didn't help at all. They all played their roles, but none of them had actually really impacted me in the way that I would like to see. And so it was, I don't know, was it Carolyn? Was it the first of this year? Or was it the end of last year? Yeah, it was the first of this year. We started talking about, maybe with all the stuff going on, and to an earlier point you made, Andrew, that when I'm going through something like this, it has a direct impact on our relationship, right? And so even though I was dealing with this personal childhood trauma thing, I would be remiss to not notice that it impacted greatly our relationship, because when somebody's going through something like that, it bleeds over into every aspect of your life. So when we signed up for it, my intention was literally, I just want to find healing from my childhood trauma. And I kind of went in, Carolyn kind of knows me a little bit better in the sense of like, not like a skeptic, but like I've tried so many things that I was kind of just like, this is just another thing we're going to throw against the wall and hope it sticks. I didn't really go in with like really high, like, this is how this is going to look, I'm going to find healing. But I did go in with my intention set very clear. And the results they exceeded any potential thing I could have laid out as far as how it impacted me. The setting, the place, the people, that was just like the cherry on top, right? The ceremony itself was something so incredibly special. And as we've talked to more people, like I had this like transcendental, I didn't say that right.
Transcendental.
There we go. Moment that was so unique to what I was looking, and then to hear Tara Lynn's story and to talk to others, and they all had like the exact experience they needed at that time, is just something that I still logically in my mind, I can't understand how that's possible, short of like the divine being involved. If I'm being really honest, like how can everybody take a substance, a plant, and come out with a perfectly tailored, personal, divine interaction that meets their exact needs in that moment? Like that's just such a cool experience. I remember coming out of mine and just thinking like, wow, that was like such a moment. And then immediately thinking, I hope Tara Lynn's having the same type of moment. And then to like compare notes and talk about it after was a really cool experience. So that was kind of my intention going into it. I don't know, Terrell, do you want to share your stuff?
Yes, it was incredible. At first, when we signed up for it, I was just thinking, I'm along for the ride. This sounds interesting. But months and months and months ago, I really didn't know what I was getting into at all. I mean, my whole life, I haven't even, like, I have almost no experience with any substances at all, any mind altering substances, like no drinking, smoking of any kind. I mean, I literally, like, I had no, like, I didn't even know. I just heard it was good for trauma, wanted to support Jeff. And I was like, okay, great. I'll do that with you. I don't know what this is, but sure. And then as it got closer and I was doing more research, I was like, oh, baby, what? This isn't like, oh, I'm just going to go have some fun and it's going to be healing. This is like, this is deep. We're doing some deep work here. And so, it was interesting. And now having talked to a lot of people, something that's really beautiful about this is we had been working together with professionals and myself. Like, I do a lot of energy work stuff with Jeff for a full year leading up to this. I mean, Jeff, I don't know if we could count up the hours, professional hours, and then just him and I, like, doing subconscious work, energy work. I mean, I don't know, hundreds of hours.
Yeah, I'd say
so many hours working on this healing, specifically just trying to get, like, pull out, as we know with trauma, it isn't that you're getting rid of the memory of it, but it's that you're making so that you can have the memory without the full-blown visceral response to it, right? So we're trying to pull it out from its roots so that it's now just simply a state in time, but we're able to timestamp it, right? So, like, in our brain, we know that happened in the past, and not our body doesn't think it's happening in the present, which is one of the side effects of trauma, right? Is that our brains don't timestamp it. And so we're constantly stuck in it. And that's what PTSD is. And so our bodies keep having these responses to it, and it comes out in a lot of different ways. So we had been working on it so much. And something that I love about the concept of a plant medicine journey is I thought, well, I've never actually really believed in coincidence, frankly, but this is just kind of solidified that. But as we've been working with people, it's so common that when you set the date, we knew the date forever ago, and I kind of set it and not forgot it, but it was just like, we had enough stuff we were dealing with that it isn't like the whole time I was just thinking plant medicine. But it was interesting because the breakthroughs we had leading up to it, it's as though the subconscious knows and can arrange things so that we were ready for the breakthrough that needed to happen at the actual date. And we were working with the hypnotherapist that you guys had arranged for us down there, which is something that I really appreciated that you guys did. It wasn't just show up, here's a plant medicine journey done. It was, you prepped us through diet, like we were eating certain things. The hypnotherapist that we saw before was incredible. And it was beautiful because as we were telling her our timing of the breakthroughs that we had leading up to it, she was like, I see this all the time. It's like you're being prepared for this beautiful breakthrough leading up to it. So honestly, looking back at our journey, it was so beautifully timed. When we got to you guys, I felt like we had reached this point where it was like, whoa, we are ready. Like, whatever it is we're going to experience here, we're ready. And we're going to surrender to it, whatever it is. Right. And so I would say, I mean, I don't like to compare experiences because life is full of so many beautiful breakthrough moments. But if I had to even compare it to the level of mind-opening experience, I mean, for me, it's there with delivering my first baby and what it did to my perception of the world. I mean, because up until that point, I can't think of anything besides going through that experience of birth, becoming a parent, how it just changed, like, my whole world. It was as though my entire world shifted completely. This was like that for me. And I loved the container that you guys created for us, because I do a lot of healing stuff on my own. Like, I love healing modalities. I've been obsessed with them for a long time. I am familiar to what it feels like to, like, have, kind of like a bubble up so that you can have good intentions and positive light energy and stuff. And it was such a relief. When I first took the medicine, I actually went, and I could feel myself kind of sinking into it. I went to do what I usually do when I'm doing a healing thing. And I went to, like, push out the light to make sure that there was a boundary around us. And I could feel that nirvana had already done it. Like it was set there. Like it was, I felt so safe. Like I could just completely surrender, knowing that there were these beautiful people who I had already gotten to know because we'd had these beautiful moments with them, and they were just holding that space for us. And it kind of gave another layer to the term holding space. You know, people always throw that around and it's like, what does that actually even mean? And I know it means a lot of different things in different contexts, but in this context, they were holding this beautiful sacred space for us, this whole team of people who were there to help facilitate our healing and our experience. So there were so many times during it that I was just crying out of gratitude for, I can't believe these beautiful people are being, I could feel their beautiful intention. It was just, I know I'm using the word beautiful a lot, but it was so wonderful to have that kind of love and support. And I loved how they emphasized that we have our own journeys. You guys had, we also saw a psychotherapist, and that was the main thing that I took out of that one was, we are here. I'm here to support Jeff, but this experience itself is going to be my experience, and he's going to have his experience. And what you guys did was you allowed us to each, I mean, we each had somebody supporting us individually, and then there was a whole team of people who was also supporting, and I felt so held. It was beautiful. So I was able to have my own, I mean, incredible experience. I had a completely different intention than Jeff's. Mine was to know who God is and know who I am. And whoa, I mean, words can't even describe the answer that I got there. But it was beautiful and full of love, and really, I want to say perception shifting, but maybe a better word would be uncovering. It was very illuminating and uncovering something that was deep inside of me already.
Yeah.
And then it was beautiful because I took twice the amount of time that Jeff took. I was just in there for a long time, and he was the one who, in the end, you know, they let me have my own experience, and then they let Jeff come in and actually help me like come back to earth pretty much. And that was probably one of the most bonding experiences maybe ever. I don't even know. It was so beautiful. So I felt like it's given us a layer of, we can see each other. Both of us had individual experiences where we, it's kind of almost like we looked at the other person during our own journeys and could see each other for the deeper part of ourselves, not just the outer trappings and even our personality. Like there's something deeper there. And both of us had some really beautiful experiences seeing that in each other. So I felt like we came back with a lot of honoring for each other, and it's enabled us to work through the difficult stuff that comes along with relationships and able to actually face that and see each other. I feel like we already did know who each other was because we've been married for a long time, but it's been really beautiful. I feel like we've been able to get back to that space where we are truly seeing each other on the deeper level a lot easier. So even, if we're having a difficult conversation, I can go back. There's been several times since I'll go back to that feeling I had of that deeper part of him. And it makes me so that even in a difficult conversation, I can pull that up and feel it and say, even if you take off the emotions, take off the reactions that we're having to each other, if I can remember that divine, incredible, huge spirit that's in there, it totally changes the way I'm able to actually receive even what he's saying instead of getting caught up with words. Does that make sense? I don't know. For me, that's been a huge thing as we've just navigated relational stuff after. That's been a huge part for me, is I'm able to return to that, who he actually is, much easier than I could before. So that's been that's been huge for me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you both for sharing. What an incredible experience. And what a way to, reflect on your journey. That's a very, very deep expression that both of you really are able to put into words of your experience. And so I want to kind of tap into that a little bit. And Jeff, like you had this like very transcendental or transformational experience for yourself. How did that change you?
Ooh, that's a big question. So in so many ways, because what I because when you go into something like this with a childhood trauma, I didn't know what healing actually looked like, to be honest. Is it just accept it, face it? Is it whatever, right? And I felt like, to Tara Lynn's point earlier, we'd done so much work leading up to that, that something interesting, about a month prior to the retreat, well, I'd reach out to you, Andrew. We had talked about canceling because like my childhood trauma stuff like was like hitting a peak of horribleness. And it was like, the last thing I want to do now is go and do something like this and potentially have it be worse or more real or scary, right? But my experience, I finally saw myself for who I am. And when you have childhood trauma, you live your whole life thinking in your brain, well, this is who I think I am. I think I'm a good person, yada, yada, yada. But deep down in your heart, you don't believe it, right? And so for me, it was just this whole a lifetime of, I'm not worthy of love. I'm a tool that other people can use to find, whatever they want in this life. I'm just kind of like a doormat for society. Even though I've had this beautiful life since the childhood trauma, that like core belief inside of me has been a part of me my whole life. And because of that, sometimes you don't react in the best way. Sometimes you don't make the best decisions. Sometimes you don't treat those closest to you with the love that they deserve. Because in your mind, if you don't believe you're worthy of that love, why would somebody else be worthy of that love? Right. And so all of a sudden, seeing myself for who I truly am and seeing like God's love for me, it made me just step back and like rethink everything. And yeah, like, it's not that I can just like check that box and say, well, now I love myself and the childhood trauma is gone. But I can go back to that and say, when I have my doubts, when I have my fears, when I have whatever is occurring emotionally or anything inside of me, I can go back to that and say, that was a moment that I'll never forget. And regardless of what's happening outside of me right now, I know who I am. I know what I'm worth. I know what value I bring. I know that I'm worthy of love. And that has changed my entire view of myself and everything around me, which I know that's a huge statement, but like, that's the truth of it.
And you can tell a difference. I notice the difference every day. It's like before, everything was filtered through a lens of not enoughness or insecurity. And now it's not. It's amazing. Like I feel the difference every day.
That's beautiful. What a beautiful share. I mean, it's, the intention for this retreat is, for all of us when we got together and we did this was for people to see themselves, because that's the only thing that we can do as a service is to, create a space that people can open up and trust themselves and have that love where they can go deep enough and accept and to see those parts. And so to hear that reflection is, I think it's the most like significant change that you can make within yourself is to self-realize. And it sounds like that's what you've done here. And that's beautiful. And so Jeff, how has this affected like your relationship with Tara Lynn and otherwise in your life?
For me, it's changed how I view, because once you change the view of yourself, you can't help but just see people differently also.
Yeah.
And before ever going to the retreat, I couldn't think like Tara Lynn's the most amazing person I've ever met. And I've been married to her for 18 years. And generally when you've been married to somebody for that long, you can be like, well, here's all this stuff. But like the more I get to know her, the more I just adore her and love her. And so the impact it's had on our relationship has been transformative. It's made us step back and say, okay, now that we like see everything in this new light, how is that going to look? And honestly, we're kind of like going through that now. We came home and it was like, that was incredible. We found personal healing at a level we didn't think possible. And so it's like led to, how are we going to take this into our relationship moving forward? Because to both of us, I don't want to speak for Carolyn, but like, this relationship we have is, for me, one of the most precious things I have. And so however I can show up better. And for me, part of that process, part of that journey was I had to overcome that childhood trauma. I couldn't genuinely fake it or do like the good habits daily and like actually feel authentic in my core that I was like worthy of any good thing in my life from my childhood trauma. So now stepping back, I can like see that for myself, and I want that in everybody else around me also. And so I think that we're now saying, like, as a couple, as husband and wife, how does this impact our relationship? And I think it's going to be a very positive, good result, but it's kind of made us step back and say, how do we navigate everything with yeah, we've been married 18 years, we have 4 kids, there's a lot of stuff that's happened, good and bad. So moving forward, how do we leave behind or move on from the tough times and focus on all the beautiful moments we've had in our time together?
It's beautiful. Tara Lynn, did you want to like add anything to that before I kind of go to the next question?
I first, amen. Yes. It's interesting because, I mean, how many therapists, say in therapy, you're working in therapy and it's, how can you actually see yourself clearly and love yourself? Whatever. That's a very common thing. And it's fascinating because when it stays cerebral, it's so difficult to know actually what does that even mean? If you don't feel it, you don't feel it. So there's all sorts of exercises. I mean, we've been doing exercises for a really long time, but I would say that Jeff's clarity on himself has definitely added to his clarity, how he sees me. And I can feel that. And for me, like he said, I mean, in a relationship, there's all sorts of good things and hard things. And I think sometimes when we're caught up in our ego, it's easy to not be able to see each other, right? Like you just get caught up in it. It's almost like you're just taken away in a storm. And so something I have noticed since then, anytime we feel that kind of getting taken away, it's almost, for me, and I don't know, Jeff, you tell me, for me now, I can almost feel it. Like, it's like, hold on, we're leaving that space. Like we're leaving the space where we can actually see each other now. And we're starting to play a tape again. The tape is there. Hold on. Whoa, let's push pause on the tape and come back. And just to be clear, that's human experience. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying being aware of it, having a strong experience where you actually can know yourself and you've had that experience where you can see somebody else, I think just makes it easier to push pause on that tape. Because in a relationship, I mean, what book was that? Was it Relationship RX with Stan Tatkin, Jeff, where he says, like, I don't want to quote the percentage and have it be wrong, but most things we disagree with in a relationship, they're the same things. Like they're the same things over and over, right? And so, but they're just tapes. We put on these tapes and we play them and we spin away into ego and we can't even see the other person. And so for me, clarity of vision has been huge, huge, huge for me. Also, it kind of feels like I don't know, it feels like it's almost like lifted you have ground and then you have the stuff that's under the ground and some of the stuff is not working. And for me, I feel like this experience kind of was like, I don't think this is how it has to be for everybody, but for me, it has been like tilling the ground. So there's been some hard stuff that's brought up. Like, it's almost like I feel like I now have like an allergy to non-transparency. It's like a weird, like, I don't know. I just want to find that place more than I did before.
Yeah.
And so it kind of feels like a tilling. I don't know. So it's been fascinating because the stuff we're talking about right now is stuff that we really have been actually working on actively, that we've been dealing with. Like we've been dealing with hard conversations and I have enjoyed that. Hard conversations are hard. I've enjoyed where we can both feel when something's kind of pulling off into ego and we can both realize that that's not how it feels to truly see each other and come back. So from a communication standpoint, I think that's my favorite tool. Not that it wasn't a tool we had before. It's just, I feel like we can both feel it better now. We can like feel when we're spinning off into that space as we're dealing with this hard stuff. It's been,
Yeah.
I think a relationship.
it sounds like you guys found something real, and now it's like, let's keep it. Let's like make sure we cultivate it and, you know, make it richer, make it like more of our experience, and continue to kind of cultivate that space that you found, you know, within yourselves and within the relationship as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Beautiful. And so whenever you come down, which you guys, I'm sure, experience this as well, everybody's kind of nervous. They don't know what the whole experience is going to look like, right? They're flying to Mexico, they're going to this wonderful retreat. And so something I like to ask is if you guys can give us kind of a virtual walkthrough of just what your retreat experience was like. So you can kind of just share with the audience of like what it actually looks like to go through a retreat like this.
Carolyn, do you want to take it first this time?
Sure. Okay, well, we got down there, and yes, I had done some research, but had no personal experience with psychedelics. Like, I didn't know what it was like to go into that other realm. But I really appreciated, we had thought about doing one just close to our house, but we decided to go to Mexico for a variety of reasons. But one of them was, you know, we had learned that it is really good to have some space before and after, kind of to get prepared for it, and then also to come back to reality, which for me, I mean, honestly, I still feel like it's been 2 weeks, and I still feel like I'm actually riding some like aftershock waves. Like I'm going through like, I'm just observing my own brain, and it's fascinating. I go, my personal wave, and I don't know if this is helpful to people because I know everybody's wave is different, but I'm just saying this so that if you experience the same thing, you at least know you're not alone. For me, it's like almost like an existential crisis situation of like, whoa, this is so big to so it makes you feel like almost some things have lost, like you've lost what matters then, if the universe is so big. And anyway, and then I come down to, but it matters so much. That's what makes it matter so much, is this kind of like existential analyzing. Then I come back down to, okay, so things matter so much. And then I have like a skeptic brain that pipes in, and then this yearning of my spirit to like really dig deeper. So it's this, I'm actually still observing it, and I'm still kind of like going with these waves. So I'm so glad I had at least a few days to really grasp that as I kind of came back to earth. So that I would say is huge. If however you do, you know, whatever your journey is beautiful. But I really did appreciate having somewhere that was away from my house, that was not my real life, as a kind of container to help me navigate that. It was really nice. I really appreciated, so coming down, how it just, you know, looked for us was, you guys were really you gave us a lot of ideas, a sample itinerary, and then we were really lucky that it was just us two, and so we were able to really customize it to what we were wanting. But we had the most delicious healthy food of my life. I thought when you guys said healthy food, I was like, okay, that's gonna be fine, and you know, I like healthy food, so whatever. But whoa, it was so good. It was so delicious, and you can tell a difference in your body. I mean, anytime you eat, you know, food that's preparing like that, it's like preparing you for something like that, it's clean and it's fresh, and it's so good. So and we got to know the staff. They were just beautiful, I mean, amazing souls to be with. They were all supportive and kind, and they gave us really great tips leading up to it, and they helped me feel safe because I was really nervous. I mean, again, this is something that I had never even thought that I would do, and so I was really nervous, like, this is out of my comfort zone hardcore. Let's have a hard conversation. I mean, I don't like it, but I'll do it. Therapy, sure. Let me surrender my whole mind and body in an experience like this, way out of my comfort zone. So the staff leading up to it helped me feel so safe. And I mean, I'm a questioner. So I'm like, I mean, I spent forever just asking them questions at meals and stuff, and they were so sweet and helped me feel just so safe, which I really loved. So by the time it actually came around, my theme was that I kept saying was, I surrender, like I surrender to this experience. And their preparation and them helping me feel safe really helped me do that, actually surrender. We did several activities leading up, and Jeff, I'm going to let you add whatever activities meant the most to you, but I appreciated, we did some stuff with movement. You know, we did yoga, we did time on the beach. You know, Jeff and I really loved it. Jeff and I had lots of time together just to enjoy the beautiful space that we were in. So it wasn't too for us, it wasn't too booked. You know, it was like we had some beautiful activities, and then we'd have this beautiful time just to ourselves in this gorgeous place on the beach, and connecting with nature and doing our own personal, you know, introspection. And so it was just really enjoyable. Leading up was just really enjoyable. My I think my first breakthrough was in the hypnotherapy session. We did it together, and it was really eye-opening for me. And I think for Jeff as well. And it was actually the first time I felt like, oh, I'm ready for this. Like, I can do this. I can do this right now. And then, you know, we had the actual ceremony itself, which also felt so safe, and they made it really sacred. I mean, it was a really, really sacred ceremony leading up to it. Nirvana, the shaman, she led us through a meditation before that was so beautiful, and it really set it up. I mean, honestly, I felt like I'm really sensitive to, I mean, like when I'm meditating by myself, sometimes like I can take myself to another state and my body can like really feel floaty and stuff anyway by myself. And so to have her with her intention there guiding us through this really beautiful meditation, I felt already that I was in a really beautiful spiritual experience to start. And we hadn't even like taken anything inside of us yet. So that's the leading up. And it was really, really beautiful and preparatory. And then I also really love the agency that we're able to keep in it, as in like there's a surrender there. But I liked it how Nirvana came within the first hour and asked us if we want to go deeper, and it was our choice. Like we could choose even in the moment what we wanted to have happen there, if we want to go deeper or, you know, take more, or just stay where we're at. And that was, I like that. I think it added power to the experience. And then after the actual ceremony, they had, again, super supportive. I came out after, I mean, Jeff had been helping me like come back to earth for how long, Jeff? 2 hours? I don't even know. Like I was a slow, for me, it was like, mine was just a really long experience compared to Jeff's. And I mean, what, Jeff, twice? Like, I think mine was double. Like I was just in that space for a really long time. Like everybody, you know, it was just, I was there for a long time. And he helped me come back. And then it was beautiful. I come out to this, you know, people who were now my friends, who were able to help me integrate back. And they also knew what I was experiencing. So they could, with compassion, see in my face what it was I was experiencing. So I really loved that. And they also really honored our wishes for the rest of the trip of when we needed stillness, because both of us needed some stillness that next day. Like we were both like, whoa, we need more stillness than we thought. You know, we thought we would be up for like doing other stuff, but that next day it was really like, I just need to like rest and kind of process that. And then the rest of the trip was honestly just a really beautiful, amazing experience. Trip in a beautiful place, still with beautiful people. I didn't have the nerves anymore because I had already done my ceremony, and it was kind of just reintegrating what I had learned in my ceremony, and also kind of fitting that into, so what does that mean for me right now? And so the rest of the trip, and there was things like that, you know, we did ice baths, we did yoga, we still ate delicious food, and still had some really beautiful meditative times. And so it was kind of the same things as before, but now it's just a different lens. And it was a really great way to integrate back. It would have been really a challenge for me the next day to be like making breakfast for my kids, you know, like just running them to all their stuff and doing school and all those kinds of things. So I really appreciate that space after to kind of reintegrate my nervous system back into reality.
Beautiful.
Right.
Jeff, is there anything that you wanted to add as well?
She did a really good job at describing the overall thing. I'll just add a few points that are like way, way, way less important, but I do think for somebody who's looking into something like this might add some value. So the main purpose that Terrell just outlined was the whole reason for the retreat, right? I'm a little bit more trying to think of the right word for this. I was more worried you'd look up stuff about these different kind of retreats. I was like, we're going to be laying in some hut in the jungle. I'm going to be sweating my balls off, and we're going to be eating some mushrooms, and I'm just going to be like, you know, I don't know, like so when you first sent out the agenda and it was like all that stuff that Terrell just lined out, ice baths, yoga, hypnotherapy, that's right into her wheelhouse. She loves the healing stuff. She's a yoga teacher, like meditation. I'm kind of more of a, like, I take care of my body. I like to like still do that kind of stuff, but I'm not really a like, let's just sit and ponder our thoughts type of person. So when you sent out the agenda, I actually turned to Terrell and I'm like, you're going to love this, but we're doing this for me. Well, it started off, the intention to start off doing it for me. And then it morphed into, this is something for both of us.
Sure.
But I was like, I'm dreading it. If I'm being really honest with you, when you sent the agenda, I'm like, we're going to just be waking up every morning doing yoga and sound baths and breath work. I was like, this honestly sounds like the shittiest vacation of my life.
And I'm amped. Like I get the itinerary, and there's horseback riding.
Cool.
Like, I love horses.
No
I
meat.
like horses. And I'm like, we're horseback riding and doing yoga. This is like my dream vacation. And just like, no, what have I?
Like, I signed us up for this. What have I gotten us into? But then we got down there, and you show up at this beautiful resort with incredible food. All of the people you brought in were top-notch, professional, incredible people. And for me, I think what beyond just the plant ceremony, which was huge impact for me, I don't think I've ever had a week in my life. I actually joked with Carolyn and I think some of the staff. I was like, if you added up my entire life sum of meditation and yoga and breath work, I doubled that in 1 week with you guys. Like, I don't do that kind of stuff enough.
And you liked it.
And I did. And it really set the stage for me. That's kind of more of an active, like do tasks, check things off the list, get things done kind of person, to go to a place where it's like, today you're going to do yoga and breath work, and we're going to have you do hypnotherapy and an ice bath. It was like, but like, what, like, things are we trying to accomplish? It just felt like me, I'm like, I want to see like a material return on something. And so to have it be that kind of helped me get outside my comfort zone. But for me, I got down there and it was just such a beautiful place, and it was still like ultra luxury. Like it was as if, we just went to like some 5-star resort and we had these private chefs. Like all of the details you guys put into it made the experience, like, even, I'll be honest with you, now the plant ceremony, I don't want to deter from that because we've already said what its impact was, but that would have been an incredible vacation just as is without the plant ceremony. Like that staff, that place, those people, doing all those great activities without any of the plant medicine ceremony would have still been an awesome vacation. Now you add the plant ceremony and it just took it to a whole nother level that honestly, I don't know if you'll ever be able to match something like that as far as experiences go. But that's kind of just mine. I went into it thinking we're going to be laying on a yoga mat out in the jungle, and I'm just going to be like, this is not what I signed up for. And it turned out to be the opposite of that. It turned out to be just this beautiful experience that we were so comfortable. The place was beautiful. Like everything about it was just exceeded all my expectations.
Can I just add something right there when he said that? Because you said you can't really compare, because you're right. We're talking about two different realms. We're talking about spiritual realm and then physical realm stuff. And so I love what you're saying, though, is the physical realm stuff was pretty dang awesome. I mean, it was.
Yeah, it was a beautiful, incredible, awesome thing. Taking out all of the cool, life-changing moments we had. Yeah.
There were so many times where Jeff and I would look around, like we're at this place and we're like, how is it just us experiencing this right now? Like, this is amazing. And I want to say for anybody, and I know you'll probably offer different things throughout as time changes. So I don't want people to get attached to a certain activity, but if people are listening to this, I own a horse. I love horseback riding, and I've only ridden a horse once on a beach though. And it kind of made me sad because like the horse, I was like, oh, I feel like the horses aren't liking this. I didn't like that they were treated very well. And so when I saw horseback riding on the agenda, I was like, oh, okay, that's okay. But it felt a little like I wasn't expecting to actually like it. But whoa, the people who you are right now with that, oh my, the horses were like taking such good care of. I mean, you could tell like I'm weird. I like to like feel what the horse is feeling, like that kind of stuff.
Oh, no.
I mean,
she's an avatar.
Taken care of. Like it was one of my favorite experiences on a horse in my life. And we're in the jungle and it was beautiful and connecting. And I mean, I left and I was like, even that surpassed my way exceeded my expectations in every way. I mean, honestly, it blew my mind. And and I'm a horse person, so that's saying something. Like, it was really, really cool. So I would highly recommend that one. It's really cool.
Beautiful. And what would you guys recommend to somebody that was like in the same position, looking to go through a transformational retreat like this and might be on the fence?
I would say book it and get the date set and start preparing yourself, because I don't think take out the year we had last year with the childhood trauma stuff and how that impacted me and Tara Lynn and our relationship and our kids, right? I mean, it's had a huge impact. What I would recommend for people is don't wait till it gets to that stage to go and book something like this. Like in my head, I'm like, why didn't I do this like way earlier? But for me, for my journey, I had to kind of get to rock bottom and really be like, I'm willing to, Tara Lynn had mentioned earlier, the whole like I surrender. Like I had to be so deep into that childhood trauma to finally just say, you know what? Because I'm kind of a control freak in a lot of ways. Like I like to here's the things, this is how we have everything laid out. So to say like I surrender and I'm just going to literally like whatever happens is a really hard thing for me. And I think that's common in human experience, right? Is letting go of the control is hard. But I think if you don't have to be, I guess what my point I'm trying to make is you don't have to be going through something that hard to go and have a transformative experience on a retreat like this. If you are going through something like that, I'm telling you, I have done countless hours of therapy. I've taken every possible combination of medications that you can get from a doctor or a psychiatrist to help with depression and anxiety and panic attacks. I've been in the ER because of panic attacks, right? Stemming from nightmares from this childhood trauma. You don't have to be going through something like that, but if you are, like, consider it and look into it. There's so much great information out there, and what's so great about the world today and the internet and podcasts, like you can access incredible information. We listened to a bunch of different podcasts leading up to it that talked about how to have a good experience, what to expect, people sharing their experiences. So I would just recommend to anybody that's going through anything, but especially if you're going through something really, really hard, look into it. And for us, we had second thoughts about it a dozen times. Like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this, because it's so far outside of what we've ever done in our life. But I guess until you go to somewhere where you've never gone in your life, you can't see the change that you want at that level, right? You have to be willing to put yourself out there at that level to get the return for change at that same level. And that was my experience.
That's beautiful. The only thing I would add to that, I agree with everything you said. I feel like with healing, I feel really strongly that every single person is capable of healing, no matter how deep your own baggage or trauma is. I really do believe that every person has access, that there is a path to healing, and that path can look different for everybody. So for me, there's something that with any kind of healing modality, when you feel it, both of us, when we first talked about it, it was interesting because we'd never talked about it before. We had like read an article or something, and both of us were like, what about that? What about plant medicine? Never considered doing that. I want to say I never considered it. And both of us were like, yeah, that feels right. Like it feels like an invitation. So what I'm saying is there's lots of healing modalities in the world. And I think that inside of us, there's a greater intelligence, whatever you want to call it. For me, I believe it's God guiding us. It might be your subconscious or whatever it is, but there's like an invitation feeling. It's like this, ooh, you know what? I think that is for me. It feels like a yes inside of me. Like everybody's different, but again, for me, it's like right here. If you push inside my heart, just behind it, for me, it's like a yes, like that's a yes. And then from there, once you set the date, setting that intention of I am looking for healing on this day and I'm setting it, then yeah, things just align. The things that will come up, it's like almost like obstacles in your path in your healing path can be moved around so that you're ready for it when it actually comes. And then I would say once you felt that yes, though, for us, just like Jeff said, I think anything that you're nervous for, you're going to have second doubts on, you're going to have second thoughts on. And so it's just going back to that. I felt the yes for it. I'm going to continue. And I'm so glad we did. Oh, I'm so glad we did. So to anybody else out there who's thinking about it, I would say, think about it. And if you feel the yes, then yeah, book it and do it. And if you don't, there's other healing modalities that like I can feel inside of me. It's a no for now. Right. So if you're feeling a no, then there's no have to ever. But you can feel it inside of you. If you feel like, yeah, that's a yes, then just trust that yes and set the date and then allow the rest of it to unfold. Actively looking for healing along the way. But I really do think with healing, I've seen it enough times now with enough people that when your intention is wholeness and you listen for those yeses inside of yourself, that it does align so that you are in the place at the time for the breakthrough that you need. And I think that is a really beautiful thing about being a human, actually. But if you feel the yes, yeah, go for it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you guys for sharing this incredible journey. This has been an absolute pleasure to just hear the depth and hear the way you express these things in such an incredible way, and for sharing these profound and certainly personal experiences. I really appreciate you guys for doing this. And yeah, and that is it for this. And so yeah, just appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming on, and look forward to having you back again someday.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.